Hello everybody, this is Serpent, and in this video I'll be showing off my info utility calculator data pack. So the primary purpose of this data pack is to provide you with a little calculator that you can use just in the game, but it also has a little info utility which I'll show you in a moment. First though, the calculator. So you access these things with the trigger command, and the first one, SD calculator, brings up this little keypad. So, couple things to note. Command output, that's whether or not pressing these buttons produces little sort of annoying outputs in your chat. You can turn that off by pressing disable, and now nothing's changing there. So let's reset the chat now and run that again. Okay, so I recommend you use the disable button first, and I don't know if that works on if you don't have sort of operator permissions. But it's very nice if it does work. So, first things first. If you press one of these keypads to enter a number, the keyed text in yellow is where that'll appear. And if you want that to stay up longer, you click toggle view lock, and that'll keep this display up. So, let's say we want to add a couple numbers. Let's add 123.4, and yes, this does do decimals. That's one of the cool bits about it. 123.45, and then to enter that number, you can use these things. So you can see we have a K arrow A, so that means take the number in the keypad and move it to A, and A is over here. It's the first value that the calculator operates on. So we've punched in 123.45, put that in A. Now let's go and say 987.65 and pop that into B. So now that we have our numbers, we want to add them, so we click the add button. And there's our result, 1111.1. It's hard to keep track of the ones as you're saying it. Anyway, so we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, and picking the lesser or the greater. And the reason we've got those in particular is because those are the operations supported by the Minecraft scoreboard. Now, the Minecraft scoreboard does not support decimals, and that's led to a couple quirks in the way this calculator works. So let's clear the clear all. This clears the keypad. This clears all. So let me demonstrate a couple of quirks. What's going on behind the scenes to create this decimal point is that I've got two scoreboards, one for the first number before the decimal point and one for the second. But that means that you can't actually display sort of decimal points that start with 0, because the scoreboard trims off those useless zeros at the start of the number. So you have to keep that in mind a little bit. For example, if I take 1 and put that in A, and then 20, put that in B, and divide, we get 0.5. And that's actually 0.05, which is calculated correctly, but it's not displayed correctly because that first 0 before 5 is trimmed off. But most things work pretty nicely despite that. For example, if we say 10 and we want to divide that by 2.5, then divide and we get a nice 4, and that's the way it ought to work. Or indeed, 10 divided by 4 gets you 2.5. So the decimal point works, it's just you have to be careful of that leading 0. The other funny aspect about scoreboards is that they are very small data types. They don't hold a big number, so you can easily overflow the number. For example, let's say 300 in A and 500 in B, and multiply that together. Okay, that works. Now, 30,000 in A and 50,000 in B, and multiply that, and we get a negative number, and that's because we've overflowed the scoreboard data. However, for most intents and purposes, this little calculator keypad works really nicely. So then, onto the second part of the data pack, and let's toggle view lock back off, so that disappears. You get to this one by using trigger SD info list. This will give you a couple different utilities for calculating things in the game. So the first category is simple counters, and if we open that up, we can see a bunch of little counters here. So if you click on one of them, it'll show you the contents, and I'll explain them in just a second. But the counters work by pressing the up arrow to count up or the down arrow to count down. And then it'll display the output in the little action bar here. So the first one is blocks, and this will tell you how much damage you take from dropping a certain number of blocks. The next one is nothing, fire, or lava, and this displays the damage per second you take for burning without standing in anything, or standing in fire, or standing in soul fire, or lava. So you can see that when we have a 0 here, which is nothing, we take 1 DPS, 1 damage per second. If we're in fire, that goes up to 2, and if we are in soul fire, that's 4, and lava is 8. So pretty simple, but a lot of text. Next counter is protection, and this calculates the % damage reduction for a given total protection enchantment value. As we increase the total protection value, we're taking less and less damage. We're absorbing 60% of the damage taken. And that caps at 80, in case you're wondering. Next is fire protection, and this will tell you the % of fire damage that's reduced by a given level of fire protection. And it'll also tell you the reduction in the amount of time you burn after being lit on fire by a given source in %. That, though, is taken from the piece of armor with the highest fire protection level, as opposed to a total. So you can see that if we have a piece of armor with fire protection 4, we're taking 32% less fire damage, and we're burning 60% less long. We were burning for 40% of the original duration. And a fun fact about this, once you get up to fire protection 7 on a given piece of armor, you can't be set on fire. You have 100% reduction in the burn time. However, it is hard to get fire protection 7 on a single piece of armor. And finally, we have feather falling. So this is the amount of fall damage reduction you get for a given level of feather falling. Pretty straightforward. Alright, well that's the simple counters section, and now we have the damage section. So this is a more refined couple of counters. There are only 2, but they're fairly useful. We've got falling damage and burning DPS. So the first one, falling damage, let's click on that, and this one will calculate the amount of fall damage you take for falling some number of blocks, let's say 10. With some level of protection, let's say 3, and some level of feather falling, let's say 2. And calculate, you take 4.48 bits of damage. And that's in half hearts, I suppose. And burning DPS will calculate the amount of fire damage you're taking per second, depending on what you're standing in and your level of protection and fire protection. So let's say you're standing in lava, since that's what it's set at, and you have protection, 8. So that's 2 protection 4s on your bits of armor, and then maybe you have fire protection 8, so that's fire protection 4 on the other 2 bits of armor. How much damage do you take from that? Well, calculate. You take 1.6 DPS. And I have actually tested these values just to make sure that they are not nonsense. That's why I've got these weird looking skeleton skulls and the lava bucket. So then, that's that for this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoy the data pack. Download will be in the description, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.